All right, we are recording. Welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment, fellas. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and we are going to do a siege defense. But also in this episode, I'm going to share my thoughts on the delay of the DLC. I've got something else to mention. We'll see if I get to it here. But we are going to show a siege defense here of AKKALAT. This is a Khazate city. If I remember right, there's an odd square off of one of the front walls. This kind of makes an odd looking six shape. Yeah, there we go. And we're gonna watch the sergeant, of course. 60 seconds here of a catastrophe AI defending against the PC. But that's a really interesting defense structure. And you know what? I just learned something. This is amazing. I've played Bannerlord an incredible amount, and you can evidently put troops on those roofs. There's no ladder, but there is a stairway next to it, and I guess they can just sort of hop on over from those stairs. So you learn something new every day, and in this case, I'm still learning Bannerlord after... You guys won't believe me if I tell you, but the little Steam thing says 13,000 hours. Although, to be fair, when you leave your app open, it counts that time. I think that would be something like two years straight of 24/7 play. So that probably is not accurate, but take it for what it's worth. Now, the AI, of course, is... Take it for what it's worth, is stupid as fuck, right? With 13,000 hours in Bannerlord, I can tell you the AI just can't defend sieges. Now, I should clarify that, right? They're actually getting a good kill ratio here, right? I would say they're getting a 2-3-1 kill ratio. However, what they're doing is they're using all of their archers before the enemy gets to the walls. What I mean by that is their archers are all going to be massacred here before they even get up to the walls. And obviously because of that, then as soon as the enemy gets to the walls, you have no archer support at all. So the AI is sort of front-loaded. It looks like we're being successful so far. In fact, I bet the kill ratio is like 5-1 right now with the siege weapons blasting them. But now what do they have, right? They've got a whole bunch of dead archers, and their infantry is outnumbered 3-4, something like that, 4-1. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. I've done so many of these that sometimes I just forget. We are outnumbered 3-1 for this example today. These are tier 2 walls. We've got a couple catapults, and both sides have tier 3 through 6 troops, so all the same equal troops, with one exception. The defenders have militia, which is fairly realistic, right? When you're in a siege and you have 400 defenders, it's probable that a good portion of those are militia. So here, a lot of our archers and infantry are, little raggedy guys who picked up a stick and a ball-peen hammer yesterday, right, for the siege. They're not gonna fight very well. And the route is on here. However, out of all the different sieges we've done, this is a top 10. And what I mean by that is the AI killed, 2/3 of the enemy troops here. Rarely do they succeed under these kind of circumstances. Now we're going to try to succeed. I'm going to use that square on the right. That's what we're going to do. That thing looks like a death trap. There's the walls, of course, from the main siege tower. But also, there's only this little narrow back door that I think if the enemy even surges through the gate, we'll have a chance to jam up. So that's going to be our Alamo there. Anytime you have a big courtyard surrounded by walls where you can position archers, jackpot, right? That's what you're looking for in Bannerlord. A lot of these siege guides, right? More than anything, I'm trying to teach you guys some of my processes for defending siege. I seriously doubt guys are watching every single one of these before they have a castle siege. It's kind of like learning, how to solve a Rubik's Cube. You can go to YouTube and learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube, mathematically in a practical process. But you don't want someone to do it for you. You want the satisfaction of doing it yourself, right? So we're going to stick an archer division and 2 infantry divisions over here, but I'm going to try to destroy this siege tower. The siege tower comes up directly where our fire catapult is, and I would be shocked if we can't destroy it. That's something you always want to consider. In fact, to me, that's the first thing you consider in siege, is where you can put that siege weapon to destroy a siege tower. Or a ram, right? But usually the ram is hard to destroy. Yeah, so right here, where's this fire catapult? Now, we could put it here and you get crossfire, and then we'd be able to throw them down on the troops. But I would prefer a regular catapult there and a fire catapult here, because not only then can I destroy that siege tower, but then we can lob those fireballs down on the troops. Now, these divisions over here, I'm probably going to move a couple of those into this square if we destroy the siege tower. See if we can use this roof. We can. That's pretty beautiful. I've defended this city before in a campaign and for... just random battles, and I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do that shit. You learn something new. And rooftops are probably the best defense in all Bannerlord, right? It's very hard to get to those guys. They have a nasty angle on attackers. It's just a savage setup. So that 4th or that 6th division we'll put in the courtyard here, but those 3 other divisions there, or at least the 2 other divisions, I'm tempted to pull them out and put them in the square if the gate gets blown open. What I mean by that is if the enemy's pouring through the gate and the archers start to get fucked up, we will use this right side and just make it our last stand. Under some circumstances, you can pull troops through these towers and make a nice long line, but if there's a ladder in the way, in fact, you could see the ladder's in the way there. It's trying to make the guys stand on that ladder. If there's anything in the way, in other words, if there's nothing that obscures your sight, you can do that. Now, these guys are too close, so how do you fix that? You can fix it by hitting loose and then line again, and it gives you a formation that's kind of in between loose and line. You see how nasty this is? These guys all have good line of sight. Most of them have cover. In fact, they've got 2 lines of cover. They'll be able to smoke guys attacking the other archers, and we have symbiosis here, right? Destructive symbiosis in this courtyard. Now, at some point or other in this siege, I want to talk a little bit about the DLC. Of course, it was released a 3 days ago, the news that they're going to delay it. I'll talk a little bit about my practical thoughts on that. I'm actually really happy, and I'll explain why. A couple different reasons I'm really happy. But let's go ahead and start this siege here and see how this works. Again, these guides, hopefully, you know, for someone who's only a modicum amount of experience with Bannerlord, you should be able to emulate what we're doing here and have success. I'm not certain this is going to work, but I would bet you a silver nickel, right? We've got some really good angles. Oh, shit. Incoming. You guys have bad aim. Oh, never mind. They're shooting at the other fire catapult. You know, I've done enough of these that you can sort of tell by the feel of the angles. Make sure we don't get shot here. I'm watching those crossbowmen. You see those guys on the left over there? Those guys may be able to shoot us here. We'll have to sort of keep an eye on those guys. I like to zoom in, because if you get smoked in the face a couple times while you're on a catapult, right, you lose 2/3 of your health before the fucking battle starts. So I see you motherfuckers. I'm watching them over there. I think if I turn this thing, then we might be in trouble, right? If I try to smoke like the ram, for example. Someone just smoked me. They hit me in the face for 1/3 of my health. Now, siege tower's down. Let's see. Let's watch those crossbow, right? We'll fire a couple rounds in here. And like I said, you really want to keep an eye on those crossbow fucks over there. So I will position it, and then I'll watch those guys like a fucking hawk, right? You can see the crossbow bolts flying by us, and sure enough, right, they can see me right here. They're shooting right past my ear hole. So, this is tenuous, right? We're going to, I don't even know. We'll fire one more shot here, I think, and just throw the rest. A moving target is much harder to hit. You basically have to have a random unlucky shot. I'll be able to throw these. We'll let that other disposable dipshit, suicide trying to shoot that catapult. The other siege tower is going to make it, which is fine, right? Only one of the 2. That's a much better result than both. And I'm going to head over there once I throw all these, right? Once I dump the proverbial load here, we will head to that square area. I'm very curious to see. Actually, you know what I can do is I could just use the RTS mod too. I'm not averse to doing that. You guys don't care. You know, you just want to see how siege defense works and get some tips. That's why you're here. Either that or to hear F-bomb. We'll fucking kill these motherfuckers, right? As they try to storm our siege, our city here. AKKALAT is a city, if you look at the campaign map, that's highly vulnerable, right? It's going to be attacked by the Northern Empire, which is what this color is, right? This is a very realistic battle matchup, in fact. It's going to get attacked by Sturgia. You're going to have your hands full if you're defending AKKALAT. And, you know, I haven't made like an official rating system. I don't think it's that necessary. We don't need to get too deep into the weeds on a video game. But I like to give grades, right? Every once in a while, I'll just kind of give a grade. I'm going to give this city a B-. This is a really good city for defense. And I'm giving that before the enemy gets in here. I just think these lines and angles are going to work. I think that square to the right from the city looking out, is going to be utterly deadly. I just think there's 3 or 4 angles there. The guys on the roof makes it extra dangerous. It would have been dangerous and bad enough if there weren't guys on the roofs of buildings shooting, but that just puts it over the top. Here, in fact, I could actually steal some of these archers. I'm not real comfortable doing it right now, but you know, this is the kind of thing you can borrow an infantry division too. In fact, I got an idea. Let's do a little trade here. We'll do a little baseball card trade. When I was a kid, I collected baseball cards, a bunch of worthless cardboard. Just gave them to a friend of mine's kid. He can have fun with some worthless cardboard till they're a burden for him. Look at this shit, right? There's like 80 archers drawing a bead here. Let's give them an infantry line of protection, and let's borrow some of these guys. So this is overkill, right? This is massive overkill. Let's borrow one archer division here, help with the gate. We can put them kind of behind the square, and then amplify the archer defense, right? There's a bunch over there. Those guys are working. But I would say probably 30 or 40 at most of those guys can shoot. Some of those guys can't see. Let's give them this elite division. I forgot to mention that the 8th division is Khans Guards. Another reason I want Khans Guards here is if I have to charge, like the enemy just storms in, Khans Guards are better off charging than your guys that have, no shield and a little rickety saber they're trying to hold steady. These guys will light some shit up, right? And the enemy runs up to them. It's Khans Guard glaive beheading time, right? They'll mangle people. And speaking of mangled, look at this fucking enemy. This fucking siege is over. And like I said, maybe it's a B or even a B+. The square is completely covered. Nothing's getting in there. In fact, they're barely able to rally troops. You can see a handful have gotten down the stairs. Most are just firing squatted here. The right is actually so strong that I could probably have taken even more archers to the front. These guys are doing mostly. There's a few guys that can't see, but most of them are shooting, and critically, they're protected. If the enemy runs over to get them, the whole time they're getting shot and scorched by all these archers over here. There's a square here providing a buttress to this right side. So that center, or that left square there, or right square, I would say everything except the right thing. That right circle over there on the left is untakeable. Hopefully you catch my meaning here. This side over here is completely untakeable, and the gate looks highly defendable. Now, I'm going to explore the city here for a little bit, give my thoughts briefly on the DLC delay, and then we'll see if I get to that other item I wanted to mention. So the DLC being delayed to, I've heard September, October. Of course, immediately people are skeptical. They're like, oh yeah, we'll see it in summer 2026. That's fair. I understand people's cynicism with a company that has a little bit of a history of delaying releases and stuff like that. But, fellas, don't we agree? And by the way, they're growing some illegal poppies right there. Fellas, I think we can agree that's better late and more accurately, better done than early, right? We don't want it released with a bunch of bugs and bad AI and stuff like that. Tail Worlds, do this shit right. Make sure it's beautiful. Release it properly. And then all of us will shut the fuck up about us having to wait like little fucking babies, a few months for the release, right? They obviously probably shouldn't have set a date on that first trailer in the release. It's an old adage, right? You under-promise, over-deliver. Well, when you promise a date and then you don't deliver, people are inherently disappointed. In fact, what they should have done is said, December 2020, and I'm willing to work for you guys. The Tail World's your PR department, right? The Tail World should have said December 17th, 2025. And then, if they legitimately are going to release it this September, being like, you know what, fellas? Happy Christmas, right? It's early. It's 3 months early, and guys would wet their pants and shit and get the new DLC. I'm excited for the DLC. I'm still concerned. I think part of the reason that there's a delay is this is an enormously ambitious challenge, right? Ship combat is going to be highly complex, and to get the AI right, where it's still fun, and the AI is getting routed here, by the way, where it's still fun, but also, it functions correctly, is going to be difficult. And there's your 10-to-1 kill ratio here, right? The AI got trucked. 10-to-1 kill ratio for us. So overall, I'm very happy that the DLC is delayed. I think ultimately that's a good thing. And I want to mention this real quick. The Japanese, I'm going to mispronounce it, Shokuko. There's a Japanese overhaul mod coming out for Bannerlord. I thought it was unfortunate they were coming out at the same month, right, where we'd be basically overwhelmed and not be able to choose which one we wanted to play. Now we could choose, right? We could play this new overhaul mod, Shokoku. We'll probably do a campaign playthrough on it, and I think that timing is good. The third thing is I've got a little bit of a health problem popping up, fellas. Now there's even an outside chance that it's mortal, right? I have cancer that runs in the family. I'm going to be getting some scans soon. I've got a bit of a lump in my throat, so to speak, so they're going to be taking a look at that. I just wanted to mention that, right? Live your life, fellas. Don't take any day for granted. With that said, hit that like button, right? Subscribe. Do a little pity subscription today because I might be dying over here. I appreciate you, fellas. And I will see you, friends, next time.